'Twas brillig, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momy raths outgrabe.
Hello, and welcome to The Poets Lounge, where we live, breathe, eat, sleep, and most importantly, love poetry. My name is Oliver Queen, and I'm joined with my esteemed colleague, Johann Schmidt. Today, we will be analyzing the poem called Jaberwocky by Lewis Carroll. So let's get started. So right off the bat, the poem uses some very unusual language that's critical to understanding the poem.
The author's use of made-up words forces the reader to use their imagination to think of fantasy.
The words in the first stanza remind us of a weird kind of fantasy wonderland in our imagination.
These words make the reader think creatively in order to decipher the poem's meaning.
That's just stanza 1. Stick around for stanza 2.
Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch.
Welcome back to Poets Lounge. So stanza 2. This is a very important stanza. We, as a reader, find out more about these fantasy woods. In this stanza, we start off with a father talking to his son. This is the first dose of reality we get in the entire poem. The son is getting a warning from his father that is very clear. Beware the jaws that bite and the claws that catch. Although we have no idea what a Jabberwocky is, we can arrive at the point that it's probably not a very fluffy bunny by any means. And although we get a warning from somebody who clearly knows what a Jaberwocky is, the author still does not reveal the specifics of what a Jaberwocky is.
This is where the plot finally starts getting into action. We see a father who warns his son, showing he actually cares, unlike mine.
Good grief. As if a Jaberwocky isn't enough, the character gets warned of 2 more probably awful things. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the firmiest bandersnatch. What in the blazes is a Jub bird and a bandersnatch? What the heck? Clearly, these woods are not very friendly, so what in the world is our main character doing?
These 2 other creatures can possibly distract the character from his main goal, whatever the hell that is.
Let's read more and find out.
He took his four-pulled sword in hand. Long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought.
Oh, hello again, and welcome back to the Poets Lounge. Stanza 3. In this stanza, we start to find out that the main character has a goal in this poem. He's taking his vorpal sword to go vanquish some evil creatures like this is a video game. But he is taking his sword to vanquish evil creatures such as the Jub bird, the bandersnatch, and the Jaberwocky.
And after searching for a while, he decides to stand and rest by a tum-tum tree.
The main character is resting because hunting evil creatures is very tiring, and he wants to gather his strength for his final try.
I'd want to get rest if I was going to slay a Jaberwocky.
Indeed, and so would I. Keep watching as we get close to the climax of this story.
And, as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came.
Well, howdy, and welcome back to the Poets Lounge, where we are talking about stanza 4. In this stanza, we finally get an idea about a picture of the elusive and very dangerous Jabberwock. Lewis Carroll describes the Jabberwocky as such, and I quote, "As in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame." Jabberwock sounds like a very lethal fellow indeed.
Just by his description, we can picture the rest of his body almost looking like a dragon, kind of like one of my ex-girlfriends.
Well, thank you for that wonderful mental image, Johan. Now, the next lines, we see the Jabberwock in action. Came whiffling through the tugly wood, and burbled as it came. Burbled? Burbled? Is that some sort of like roar, growl, outcry?
I'd like to think so.
Thank you for that brilliant commentary. But don't go away. We're almost to my favorite part, the climax.
1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back.
Well, hi, and welcome back to the Poets Lounge, yet again, for the 5th time. We finally get to the climax, my favorite part. We read of the main character thrusting his sword and slaying the Jaberwocky, thus showing his mission is done and the plot comes together.
Just like a bounty hunter, he brings the head of his victim back to show his people proof that he did indeed slay the Jaberwocky.
Fascinating. Stay tuned for more action-packed poetry as we analyze the next stanza.
And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, frabjous day, Calloo Calais! He chortled in his joy.
Welcome back, again, to the 6th and almost final installment of Poets Lounge. Now down to business. Stanza 6. We are finally out of the dreaded and mysterious woods, back into a semi-reality. The father is overwhelmed with joy, seeing that his son has slain the Jaberwocky and returned unharmed, and he wants to hug him like any good father.
The son too is happy, being described as being beamish, or in layman's terms, beaming with pride and happiness.
Genius. This is where the party begins. The father refers to Frabjous Day. This is possibly the day that may have been foretold in legends of the day that the Jaberwocky has been slain.
Father starts shouting, Calloo, Calais, probably the equivalent of what we know as hooray. I think we should bring that back.
Totally started.
We'll start.
Agreed. This wraps up the plot of the story, and in most fairy tale endings, has a pretty happy ending. Bear with us, there's only one installment left.
Thank God. Calloo!
Calais.
'Twas brillig, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momy raths outgrabe.
Stanza 7, the last and final stanza.
Woo.
Indeed. Now, if that stanza looked familiar to you, it's because it is. It is word for word, comma for comma, period for period, letter for letter, the exact same stanza as stanza 1.
I think Lewis Carroll is on drugs, to be honest.
Now that is a valid point, but there's 2 reasons that I came up with as for this repetition. The first, this story could have been the poem that a father was telling to his son, perhaps as a bedtime story, of the legend of Frabjous Day. The second one is, this is all just a cruel, cruel trick and none of it ever happened. Never.
I don't know. I think he was still on drugs.
As do I. But thank you for joining us on this whirlwind adventure of action-packed poetry and analyzation. If there is ever a next time, there will be. Just remember, poets like you are always open and welcome in the Poetry Lounge. For Johann Schmidt, I am Oliver Queen, signing off.
Calloo!
Calais.